Here we are at the Dixon Correctional Center. It's my favorite warden, the man all the way on the right there. He really does seem to care about his inmates. We have the Myers versus Meyer. That's the district attorney, assistant district attorney versus the head of the parole project. So that's always interesting. And then we have the attorney in training that often participates in these parole project hearings. He's the man at the pink tie on the left, and then his professor and attorney sitting next to him. It's interesting. It's interesting to, oftentimes when the parole project is involved, not always, but often it does seem like a predestined outcome. But we're going to see here. I'm not familiar with what his crime is. I think Mark Williams. I don't know. Let's see. I'm not sure who Mark Williams is, if he's in support or if he's a victim.
Hey, please introduce yourself, state your name and DOC number for the record.
My name is Alvin Leonard, 129389, sir.
Okay, Alan, my name is Brendan Kelsey. Along with me is Mr. Marabella. Mr. Freeman will be your panel. We'll ask you questions. You can respond at the end. Next statement, we'll take a vote. You understand the process?
Yes, sir.
And we have Mr. Randy Meyer here that'll speak at the appropriate time. Would you like to make the introductions, Mr. Robert Lancaster, please?
Yes, Mr. Kelsey. Robert Lancaster with LSU Parole and Reentry Clinic, here today representing Mr. Leonard. With me is Robert Clay Everett. He's a second-year student at the LSU Law Center. He has assisted Mr. Leonard in preparation for the hearing today. He's also assisted in preparation of the brief. He's not certified under Louisiana Supreme Court Rule 20, but he is prepared to make a statement of support of Mr. Leonard should the committee deem it appropriate.
Great, thank you. And we also have Mr. Mark Williams, and I think Mr. Alvin Robinson might be showing up, or maybe not in yet.
I think by Zoom, Mr. Kelsey.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Alvin Robinson. Okay, great. And we'll also see Mr. Speak at the appropriate time. Alvin Leonard Jr., DOC number 129389. You're a fourth class offender, not eligible for good time. Your parole eligibility date is 7/17/2023. Your full term date is 7/15/2033. A 30-year sentence for armed robbery. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
3 counts of armed robbery. Would you answer Mr. Marabella's question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Leonard, my name is Tony Marabella. I'm going to start our interview process. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Leonard, how old are you, sir?
58.
And how long have you been in prison on these charges?
Over 19 and a half years.
Almost 20 years.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, Mr. Leonard. Tell me about your educational background. How much education have you had?
Well, I went to St. Charles Borromeo earlier in my years, which was a Catholic school. I attended Destrehan High School for a year, approximately a year before I dropped out, and went to Job Corps for welding, and East Jefferson Votech for welding also. And I went to Louisiana Hair Design for barbering.
When did you go to When did you go to Job Corps and do learn? Well, what did you do there? Did you graduate from?
No, sir, I didn't graduate. I got to the point where I can do oxyacetylene and arc welding, but I didn't finish the program, sir.
How old were you when you went through the program?
we talking about maybe 15, 16.
And did you work after that?
I've worked many places, sir. Many places. I've held many jobs.
Tell me about some of your work that you've done while you've been on the outside.
I worked for Shaw Construction, pipe fitter helper. I've worked at numerous hotels as in banquet work. I've worked at Praline Connection as a head waiter and East Jefferson water department outside maintenance. Oh my goodness.
Well, were you doing drugs when you were younger?
No, everybody basically did the same thing. I mean, we drank some, I mean, it wasn't
I understand that, but were you doing marijuana, cocaine, heroin?
marijuana.
Yeah.
I've smoked marijuana before, sir. Yes, I have.
Mr. Leonard, as I hear you talk, I'm not hearing anything about all of your crimes. It sounds like you were doing okay. Why all of the robberies and violence? I mean, you started robbing back in 1988. You've got a long history of robberies. You've been to prison, you've gotten good time release, you've gotten revoked, you got good time release, you got revoked, you got good time release, you got revoked. Then this last time you got 3 armed robberies. So tell me who that person was and why. I mean, here, go ahead.
I'm sorry. At what point, sir? At the earlier point or this point?
I want to know why you've done all of it. You're asking me now to let you out 20 years after you've been in prison. Now you're explaining to me before you came to prison, you had these abilities to hold good jobs and you had jobs, yet you were robbing people. You say you weren't doing drugs, you're smoking a little marijuana here and there. What was the motivation for all of these robberies?
In the younger days, sir, stupidity. Actually, what happened was when I was younger, I did go to Catholic school. I was considered nerdy. I was considered an outcast. I was considered all of these different things. That was the person that I was. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to prove to everybody, oh, I'm the tough guy and this and that and so on and so forth. So it led me to those paths earlier in the 80s and 90s. But after that period of time, sir, I didn't have anything that happened until this later point in life. And what led to that was honestly child support. Honestly, because what happened is I was working for East Jefferson water department, and I found out that I was on child support because the young lady that I was with got on assistance. I didn't know that for years she was on that, and I was accumulating a debt. So when I got that job to make sure that my children had stable medical and everything else that they needed. And I was also paying what I needed to pay. At that time, I was making $7.25 an hour. So for 2 weeks, I might make $700 some odd dollars. I couldn't get another job because by me working outside maintenance, I had to have a beeper on. So I couldn't work any other job except that job. But when they started,
Leonard, let me slow you down here. You seem to have a reason for all of these armed robberies and these robberies. These are very serious crimes. I mean, you had robberies in 88, you got out, commit another robbery. You got out, commit another robbery. I mean, you have this history of robberies, and in my opinion, and let me just say this, I've been in the criminal justice system for 50 years. I was a defense lawyer, a prosecutor, a judge, and now I sit here. To me, one of the most serious offenses in the entire criminal code is armed robbery.
Yes, sir.
And you committed a bunch of them. Businesses you robbed. You didn't just rob individuals on the street or drug dealers. You went into businesses where there were customers and robbed them. Those are serious, serious offenses. Now, everybody has money problems, but they don't go out and rob people time and time and time again. Now, you've been in prison for 20 years. You've told me you've changed.
Yes, sir.
It looks to me like you didn't start taking any kind of program until about 2019. Am I right about that or wrong? Did you take programs before that?
Sir, when they give you 30 years, a lot of the places that you go don't offer you programs. They offer
Well,
the
did you try to get into any programs?
Yes, sir. I have tried to get into programs in different places. And ones that I was able to get into, I got into to get whatever it was that I can get.
What programs did you get into? Because all I see is that, and you've got some good programs. Inner healing, which is something I'm going to talk with you about in a second. But you got your GED in 2020. You got victim accountability in 2021, reducing angry feelings in 2022, and Cage Your Rage in 2022. What did you get before that? I don't see anything before that.
Because the places I was at,
Well, I hear you. You just told me I got into some and I got what I could get out of it. What were those programs that you got into before 2019?
well, I weren't into programs. What I did is I got into programs that helped me.
Okay, well,
Get
tell me
better,
what
sir.
they are. Tell me
The-
what those programs are.
Okay, mentor programs. I got into a mentor program at RCC. As far as the religious community go, I was on the Shura board for the Muslims. In other words, that I basically ran the day-to-day operations and things that went on with that. I was also a dorm representative in RCC for almost 8 years, and where I went and took care of whatever problems that the inmate community had. I tried to make sure that I was getting better and doing things to help me and to help the people that were around me, sir. But it's not anything where it was a program for good time or a class for this and that.
I
Everything that
didn't see anything of that
Yes, sir.
nature records. Do you have any anything to substantiate that?
no, sir.
Let's talk a little bit now. I read your lawyer's brief. I've read all the information that was presented to me, and it appears that this program, Inner Healing, or Inner Healing is something that has really affected you. So tell me about that. Tell me what Inner Healing is, what you learned from it, how it's affected you.
Inner Healing is a program that basically helps you find out who you are and what makes you tick. The thing of inner healing is it's not only healing yourself, it's healing the other people that are around you that you affect. The ripple effect of the consequences of what I did to these people, it could never go away. Because through personal experience, I understand what has gone on with me for over 20 years. So I can't imagine what could have gone on with these people. It's a ripple effect. And the thing of it is, I had to find out what was making me come to the conclusions that I was coming to. And it helped me by letting me know that some of the things were shame, some of them were fear, but they connected to anger, and anger management helped me also in some of these things that I was dealing with. So it all kind of connected together, but I wanted to have the change first. Because without me changing, without me wanting to change, without me wanting to do better, none of this would have worked. And that's what I want. And that's what I'm striving for.
What would be your plan if you were to get out soon? I see Mr. Myers here. I assume that you're going to Louisiana Pro Project. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
What are your thoughts about that? Tell me what you hope to be able to accomplish there.
Well, what I want to accomplish is being able to integrate myself into society again. I do want to be a viable citizen. I do want to do the best that I could possibly do at work. I want to do the best I can for my family and also my community, because I also want to mentor there if I am granted.
That's a goal. Those are goals, and I appreciate that. What specifically do you intend on doing to accomplish those goals?
I have at least 3 different job offers waiting for me as soon as I touch down. As soon as I touch down. I've been a barber for years. I'm also going to do that because I'll probably work 2 jobs instead of 1. For the first time in my life, I don't have any debts or anybody that I have to pay off because the child support was wiped off the books. Okay, so I don't have anything, sir, nothing whatsoever over my head as far as hindering me from becoming who I can.
How are
Nothing.
you going to stay sober?
Sir,
How are you going to stay sober?
for the past 20 years, sir,
You've been in prison, okay?
I haven't touched drugs. I've never failed a drug test. I've never had any of those issues. And I really, like I said before, anything I did before, it was maybe here and there because I don't even like to drink. So, I mean, I don't think that's an issue, sir.
Well, according to your record, you have a moderate risk on substance abuse. They have detected something that's an issue with you. Whether it's because of your past drug use, you've been arrested on a number of occasions for drugs in the past. You did 2 6-month stints on marijuana charges. You were charged with possession with intent to distribute marijuana. I don't know what happened on those charges, but drugs have been an issue in the past. No?
Yes, sir.
So how do you intend on staying sober?
I intend on staying by going to the programs because I did ask my lawyer right here, did they have any programs at the parole project that I could take part in? And
What sort of program?
sir,
What sort of program? Are we talking about substance abuse programs?
AA.
Okay. Well, why didn't you mention that to me a minute ago when I suggested how are you going to stay sober? You said, I don't need that. Now, all of a sudden, you've discussed it with your lawyer about going to AA. Why not just be totally honest with me and say, I don't think I have a problem, but I'm going to go to AA meetings. I'm going to try to stay sober. I'm going to make sure I have all of these things covered because the world is worse than it was when I came in prison 20 years ago. Why didn't you tell me that?
Well, sir, because I don't know if it was the way we spoke, but I waited for you to ask the question before I could answer the question.
I thought I asked you how you're going to stay sober. And you said, I don't need nothing. I've been sober for 20 years. I don't want to do that no more. I didn't do drugs much before when I was out anyway, so it ain't a problem.
Well,
It's a problem for me because I'm worried about that. You seem to be moving in the appropriate direction. And that's a good thing. You've got a good plan. That's a good thing. I'm just not sure you're there yet. Warden, what can you tell us about Mr. Leonard?
Hey, good morning, Mr. Marabella. He hadn't been here but since June of 22, so I don't have a long history with him, but he is a trustee. He works on one of our trustee crews, and he hadn't had any write-up since he's been here.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. That's
We'll hear from Mr. Gary Meyer.
Yes, good morning. Again, Kerry Myers, Louisiana Parole Project. Mr. Leonard has served right at 20 years of this sentence, 2/3 essentially of his sentence, and he's 58 years old. He's certainly a much more mature man now than he was. Prison has certainly sobered him. I mean, let's just go right to that. Prison has definitely made a difference. This 30-year sentence has changed his outlook on everything. We understand that his programming may not be as hefty as other people who come here, but the programming he has taken has been significant and had an impact on him, a major impact on him. We will provide him the services that he needs, and particularly he'll get the evaluations that he needs. He'll get a mental health and substance abuse evaluation through our social workers. He will follow any recommendations that's made there. I believe he's got he's got a short-term plan with us, a transitional plan, and he has a long-term plan with his sister in St. Rose. He has employment waiting for him. I believe that at this point that Mr. Leonard is ready to be released. And we would certainly support him through his release and ask this board to consider that in their decision today.
All right, thank you. We'll have a brief statement from Mr. Mark Williams.
Yes, I'm Mark Williams. I've known Alvin for over 40 years. I know him as a fun-loving person, loves to smile, loves to joke around, excellent dancer. He's always been a barber as long as I've known him, likes cooking. So I'm hoping that at some point in the near future that I'll get a call from him and he'll say, come pick me up, friend. And I'll give him a hug, give him a kiss, let him know I'm here to support him in every way I can. I'm just a phone call or a short call ride away. And anything he needs, I'll be there for him.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you for your comment. Mr. Alvin Robinson, would you like to make a brief statement? Mr. Alvin there? No, Mr. Alvin's not there. All right. What's that? Okay, that's perfect. All right, we hear from Mr. Randy Meyer now.
Good morning, Randy Meyer, Assistant DA in Jefferson Parish. We're opposed to Leonard's request. At this time, he was convicted of pled guilty to 3 armed robberies, was sentenced to 30 years. I have the same concerns that Mr. Marabella was discussing about. I noted that he has very limited programming, none since until 2019, no substance abuse treatment, which I think is extremely important. You know, Mr. Leonard said he wanted to be a viable member of the community when he gets out, and we do too. He's going to get out one day, and we want him to be viable too. We think he needs to have all the tools that he can get and that the system has available for him to give him the tools to stay out. And I think substance abuse is one of those tools that he clearly needs. Again, his victim opposition, he's had 34 disciplinary reports since he's been incarcerated. The last was 2018. And he has a very poor supervision history. I think he was revoked, if I'm not mistaken, he was revoked each time he was placed under supervision. For those reasons, we are opposed to his request.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Leonard, would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
Yes, sir. I would. During these 20 years, it's a lot of things that happened that changed me as a person and as an individual. My past, I'm sorry for. I am. I'm sorry for the victims. I'm sorry for everything that took place, and not because I was caught. It's because I understand this. I understand this because the aha moment, which made me want to be a better man and better person, is that my daughter, she was molested for 2 years. by a man that lived with her mother. And the fact of the matter is, I wasn't there to comfort my child. That was part of the ripple effect of my actions, of everything that I did, because I claim responsibility for it. It wasn't because someone else did this or did that either. I put myself in a position, or I did something that was incorrect. But the scars of that have to live with me. It has to live with me. And it starts with me. And that's when I decided that I need to be a better man, a better person, a better human being, a better brother, a better everything. I'm asking this board to please consider this. Please consider this. Because my past as a child is that. I'm a grown man. And I promise you, I take full account of everything I've done and everything that I will do to be a better person. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Everett, would you like to wrap it up?
Yes, sir, absolutely. I'd like to thank the committee for the opportunity to speak today on behalf of Mr. Leonard. And I think Mr. Leonard is really the perfect example of the system working. As we've discussed today, Mr. Leonard has made some mistakes in his past. And I think that he's gotten to the point now where he's able to take accountability for those mistakes he's made. And the truth of the matter is this 20-year prison sentence broke Mr. Leonard. And from that broken Mr. Leonard, he was able to grow into the new Mr. Leonard sitting here in front of you today, who is now a mentor, a leader, and most importantly, a changed person. And I think as Mr. Leonard has discussed, this time is completely different from every other situation he's been in, because now his life has immense purpose. He's had to watch his children and his grandchildren grow up from behind bars for the past 20 years. And as he discussed, each of them has gone through their own trials and tribulations. And his only goal now is to go be that father, be that grandfather that he wasn't able to be, and serve as a role model for them on how to be a contributing member of society. As I discussed, Mr. Leonard was broken from prison. But this man sitting next to me is not the man he was 20 years ago. This is a new Mr. Leonard that built himself up through hard work every day while he is in prison, who is now a leader, now a mentor, and is now a man that's ready to make a positive contribution on society. For this and the foregoing reasons, Mr. Leonard humbly asked this honorable committee to grant him parole into release into the custody of the Louisiana Parole Project. Thank you.
I thank you. All right, is the panel prepared to vote? Yes. Mr. Marabella?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Leonard, I do appreciate the interview. I think that you've come a long way. I believe that you have all of the goals that both your lawyer and you have described. I think that you did in 2019 have a change of who you were, what you wanted to be with programs that you've taken. You've accomplished a lot of things. I also believe that the world outside is just as bad as it was, if not worse, than when you came to prison. My concern is that you don't have any substance abuse treatment or education. You downplay your drug use. You were convicted at least twice of possession of marijuana over a period of years, which to me suggests you probably were using for a long time. You denied any drug problems, but you suggested, oh, well, maybe I'll go to AA meetings. I don't think you're there yet. I think you've come a long way. No question to that. I think you're in the right direction. But if you get out right now, I think that you may not go back in your mind to robbing people. But if you get out there and things get tough again and you get back to using drugs, hanging with the wrong crowd, boom, you may very well be back in it. I'm just not prepared at this point to take a chance. I would like to see you take some significant rehabilitation drug programs, substance abuse programs, AA programs, thinking for a change, living in balance, those kinds of programs that will give you some education on drugs. And then reapply as soon as you do that. My vote today would be to deny for those reasons.
Mr. Freeman?
Mr. Leonard, due to law enforcement opposition, strong victim opposition, and a terrible supervision history, my vote is also to deny.
You have 2 votes to deny your parole. Also, I'm going to vote to deny your parole. You're right there close. I would encourage you to get with the warden and try to take some substance abuse. Take a, get into some classes, get into some things. You can either take this as get mad about it, it's all up, not do anything, or you can take this, as it is and improve yourself, and maybe there'll be a different outcome next time you come across. But you're heading in the right direction. 3 votes to deny. Today your parole's been denied. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do feel like we live in an insane world when it comes to these things. I do. I really don't know how, and I'll tell you why. The information that I have, how do we do this? Okay, so let's just start with the bombshell, which is he was arrested in 2004. Sorry, in 2003, he was charged with 3 counts of armed robbery. Now, these were crimes that he committed one after the other. He robbed a Pizza Hut. He robbed a Texaco gas station and a Domino Pizza. Now, he robbed these stores with a toy gun. Yes, he robbed these stores with a toy gun. This is not the same type of person that goes with a loaded magazine into a store. It's not the same type of robbery. I get that if people don't know it's a real gun, or if they don't know, right, it can have the same effect, and they didn't bring that up on the defense in any way. But I think that does set a difference, and it sets a tone. Second, he was railroaded completely from the DA. He took a plea deal, not the DA, from the judge. He took a plea deal. He didn't go to trial. And they were supposed to give him, the kind of sentence you would get for armed robbery. But the judge threw the book at him. They tried him as an habitual offender. I think what it was in here, that the file they plead, is that they wrapped all 3 armed robberies and put it as 3 separate incidents so he would get the habitual offender, and he got a 30-year sentence. Next thing I want to point out is that, was it Mr. Marabella who said armed robbery is one of the worst offenses? And I could think of, how long is your list of one of? Because I can think of so much more that's worse. Where does it come on the line? Then he says the victims are opposed. Well, they're so opposed, why don't they show up to say something? 20 years later, the victims are still opposed. They got robbed with a fake gun. Was anyone hurt? Like, I get it. But where's the rhyme or reason? How do we have people? We just got off the hearing where someone had their throat slit, and she was let out after serving 25 years. Then they're bringing up, downplayed your drug use. You have 2 arrests for marijuana possession. It's marijuana. One day we're going to look back we're already looking back now, but in the near future, we're going to look back and we're going to say how criminal it was that we were locking people up for marijuana possession and then holding it against them. There's no difference between that and prohibition. If you would have gotten locked up during prohibition, oh, he had a bottle of booze, he had a bottle of wine. I could see it now. You could transplant these judges over there sitting over a court hearing in Louisiana, talking down at someone because he was caught with a bottle of wine. Sir, you're not admitting your drinking problem. You were caught twice with a bottle of wine. You need to go to AA and NA. And he couldn't even go to the programs. He kept saying, there were no programs for me. I couldn't go. They didn't offer them. And now you're going to hold it against him? The man spoke well. The man spoke from the heart. The man went to explain why he was doing it, why he was robbing, because he was in financial problems. That's why. Not because he had a drug problem. Please. He's spent 20 years locked up. Let him go. He was well spoken. He really was. He's not a threat to anyone. He's not going to hurt someone. Yeah, you hold it against him that he didn't take programs when he couldn't. Blows my mind. It blows my mind. We have seen people get let out who have committed far worse crimes. It makes no sense. With that, I'm going to let you go.